Yeah, I think, look, there's a huge propaganda war out there. I mean, we have to be all responsible. When something is forwarded to us, we shouldn't just forward it without verification.
Yeah.
There's so much of that. And, we've had
Or
people here.
or say this isn't yet confirmed, but there are reports that blah. Depending on what it is.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, we had the so-called. I mean, even they made it out to make it seem scary to us. Weapons of mass destruction, even though there was nothing there in the end. Right? But that is used as a what do you call it? Like a green ticket or a license to kill as many people as possible. These sort of phrases, they are totally, I won't say irresponsible. They are absolutely, completely, utterly despicable and evil. And that's what I'm saying. So some of these phrases that you use come from the top as well. So even now when we had
They do.
this, sorry?
They do, you're right.
Yeah, so we have to be a bit more, we have to read between the lines. Wait a minute, by forwarding this or speaking or repeating this to somebody, is it going to better the situation or is it going to worsen the situation?
Yes, and I also think when you're not inside the conflict zone, and thankfully you're not and I'm not, at least have the good grace not to make anger and antipathy and loathing worse. We've got the sort of security and comfort of being able to argue. At least let's try and do that well, while other people face literal bombs.
Yeah. Yeah, but we see this at the same time, Sheila. We have to look at the facts. And as far as this conflict is concerned, like, we have to look at the facts. The facts are there. The Palestinians. When you've been to, I've got friends in Gaza.
What's happening to the Palestinian people inside Gaza is unacceptable.
That's what I'm saying. So this is a root cause. We have to, if we can, it might take us 10 years to achieve that. We have to work towards a two-state solution. And the way I look at it, and Israel cannot be immune to doing whatever it wants with impunity, breaking war crimes. Breaking international law continuously, and we got their backs. We got the backs of the people who are breaking international law. How does that work? We're supposed to be upholding the law. We're supposed to be upholders of the law.
I know, but Yusuf, the problem is their enemy, and I imagine you would agree with me that their enemy is Hamas, who aren't bound by international law, other than in the obvious personal moral way, because they aren't a state and they operate like a terrorist organisation, because they are a terrorist organisation.
Look, Sheila, I mean, going back to the 7th of October, for example, right? Now, yes, nobody agrees. Like I said, I'll be the first person to rush out the house if anybody was hurt in any way around my house, no matter regardless of whatever background from. I'll be the first one to rush out and help and assist. Even if I was there, but believe me, even if I was there at that time when Hamas and other entities were there in that area, I would have. Believe me, I'd stand in front of them, even if a bullet was coming my way. That's how I am.
Well, a bullet would come your way.
I would support the oppressed.
But a bullet would come your way if you defied Hamas in that circumstance.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not bullets and guns and machinery and war. They don't scare me one bit. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't scare me. Because look, my time is. I believe my time is. If I can be sitting on my sofa at home, if my time is up, my time is up. If I'm going to take a bullet for somebody, I'd rather die doing something good than sit there doing nothing or supporting the oppression. So what I'm saying is that, look, even in if you remember back to 1994, 25th February 1994, right? But if you remember Baruch Goldstein, the Israeli settler, who went into Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron, and 4 minutes into the prayer where people were kneeling down in sujood, we call it, with the head on the floor in the ground, he massacred 29 people, of them 12-year-olds as well, 11, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Now the world didn't, what I'm saying, under the same situation, the world didn't say, right, let's bomb Israel because this is what let's go and flatten Israel because this guy was an extremist. So we can't react in this way that we're given Israel a carte blanche to kill and or maybe 1,000 children. I don't know how many children.
He is described and was at the time described as he was an American Israeli, wasn't he? He was described as a mass murderer, religious extremist. And you're right about those attacks. I had forgotten them momentarily, but you're right. I remember them now that you.
So that's what I'm saying. We can't give carte blanche to when atrocity occurs. in any way. We can't give carte blanche to the people, the victims, not the victims, or should I say the country who have been victimised. To say right here, yes, you've been oppressed now. You can do what you want.
I think there's a difference, and the difference is this. In my view, you can disagree with me, Yusuf, obviously. Without a doubt, what he did was a terrorist attack aimed at Muslims through hate, without a doubt. I think the difference is both in scale, because the scale is different, and sadly that's a factor. That Israel has, on both sides, Israel and Hamas, come to some kind of strange and awful, and in no way was it ever going to be a permanent solution, kind of violent accommodation of rocket attacks, followed by rocket attacks, followed by rocket attacks, intermittent terrorist attacks by Hamas inside Israel. You can't ignore the blockade and the conditions in which Gazans live because of the rules around the border with Israel. Israel would argue that's them defending their borders, but, I know there are serious humanitarian questions around that blockade, and I have plenty of them myself around that blockade. But I think the difference here is that the attack on Israel on October the 7th was on such a scale that, and I'm not saying those Muslim lives that you describe matter any less than the Israeli lives that were lost on Saturday. They absolutely do not. But I'm just describing the nature of the events and the implications of the events. And the implication, it seems to me, of the October the 7th attack is that it was an invasion into Israel by another group. They're not a state, but essentially another state. An invasion into Israel, a ground invasion into Israel, in which over 1,000 civilians were killed and brutally killed as well. And I do think there's a difference, Yusuf, not in the value of the lives, but in the scale of the attack, therefore the scale of the response.
Can I just make one last point?
But just before you do, this is not me saying that the humanitarian crisis in Gaza can be allowed to continue. It should not be.
No, 1 second. Just one last point, and then obviously you've got to go to the break. I understand that. That's what I'm saying. You're saying, Hamas invaded Israel, right?
Yeah.
But look, if you look back 70 years, who's invaded who? And what about all these illegal settlements? They're continuously invading
in the West
space.
Bank.
They're continuously harassing.
And we've talked about that. We are talking about that on this program as well.
Yeah, but Sheila, what I'm saying, the solution is, stop. We have to stop Israel continuously doing this oppression. Give the Palestinians a carrot instead of the stick. In other words, tell them that,
carrots, Yusuf. They've had carrots. Sorry? They've had carrots. No, and don't forget,
they've had very little carrots. I believe. Well, if we tell them we're working towards a two-state solution with all the partners around, I think then I'm sure all this will stop.
I think they've had terrible leadership, but there's a difference between talking about the Palestinian people and Hamas when it comes to Gaza in particular. I absolutely take what you say about the behaviour of some extreme Israeli settlers in the West Bank and that attack. Thank you for reminding me of it in 1994. But I think there is a slight difference between those two. But I'm with you 100%, Yusuf, when you do speak of hoping for better, and we have to hope for better, not least better leadership. This is a leadership question.